Hey guys, it's your girl Kizzy Rock, and yes, Kizzy Rock is my birth given name. Happy Tuesday morning, guys. I want to say hey to all my subscribers, new as well as seasoned. I got a word for you. Tap in. So guys, I made a recording, I think maybe like a month ago, and I remember I used a scenario for an example, and I was saying that someone that I knew personally had called me complaining about this guy she had met, and for whatever reason, she agreed for him to come see her at 12 midnight because he was, I think, in the quote unquote studio session or something like that. And he didn't show up until 3 a.m. and she allowed him in and all the other stuff. So I remember saying that you even agreeing, for someone you don't even know to show up to your house at 12 midnight, right, is low value. So I had a young lady who emailed me, and her email literally just broke my heart. But she was basically saying that when she heard that recording, that it triggered her. It triggered her, and it made her feel, because she said she already know that that's low value thinking, but because she's so caught up with the guy, she's so in love with the guy, that she just allowed that type of behavior to continue, even though she know he's lying. He pops up when he wants, all the stuff, right? And this is not her boyfriend or husband either. It's just somebody who she's, I guess, currently dating. Booty calls. I mean, But I wanted to share this with her. And I figured I would bring it here just in case someone else needs it. First and foremost, you are not alone. You are not alone. Unless you're hiding behind or under a rock, I should say, then you will know that women are struggling. This is why you have millions of women on, let's say, Pastor R.C. Blake's, Bishop Samuel Blake's, right? Just to name a couple, because I'm very, very particular about who pour into my life or who I listen to. I just don't listen to someone because they may be attractive or just because it sounds good. My spirit have to agree with you. That's personal and cyber world, right? So my point is, when you look on these forums and these chats, you see women of all ages, women in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and so on. You see women of all races, all background, but yet all of these women are struggling with trying to understand, why do we allow the behaviors that we allow? Why do we not feel worthy of leaving or putting our foot down? So all that stuff, right? So again, first and foremost, I wanted to say that so you understand that you're not alone, because the enemy will literally try to always target individuals and make them think like, oh, you're the only fool, you're the only this, you're the only that, you're the only... No. No. Please check out a chat section. All right. Next, I want to say, at the end of the day, when we boil down to everything, when we peel back all the layers of the onions, at the end of the day, you still will find at the core brokenness. Period. There's no way around it. Brokenness is what has us to accept certain behaviors, not know our worth, all this stuff like that, right? So it's your foundation. It's your default setting. It's the fact that maybe your father wasn't there. It's the fact that maybe your father was in the household, but a lot of people don't understand. You can come from a 2-parent household and still not have the proper emotional upbringing that you need. Just because a body, B-O-D-Y, just because a body is in the house doesn't mean that parent is playing an effective role. So there's this misconception that people that come from a 2-parent household, right, like they have that great foundation. No. You have fathers in the household who don't even know how to properly show emotions to their daughters, because maybe men were taught not to show emotions a lot of the times. You have men who have sons that they love but don't even know how to show that love or that affection to their son. So now you got the son thinking that his dad don't even love him, and his Father would probably do anything in the world for him, but he just don't know how to show that. And so now you have men who don't even know how to show proper emotions and proper affection and love to the woman they love. So you see how it's just a trickle-down effect. It's a domino effect. Back on topic, Kissy. So again, you have fathers who are not there. And here's a big deal that a lot of people don't talk about. You hear men talk about it, but for some reason, it's almost like women are kind of afraid to even admit to it. And maybe it's because they themselves are the same way. And that is this right here. Toxic mothers exist. Toxic mothers exist. And I think I've spoken to several people, honestly, who blatantly, like, that's the first thing they say. Oh, my mom was toxic, point blank, period, right? That's the first thing they acknowledge. But then they have the same behavior patterns of that parent, of the mother. So then I wonder, is it hard to acknowledge that you have a toxic parent because you're the same way? So it's almost, well, it is you calling yourself toxic as well. And that's hard to admit at times. So when you got parents who have allowed unhealthy behaviors, men running in and out their homes, and you're a child, you saw that. Every time you woke up, there's a different man in your household. You may have even been violated by some of those men. You have moms who emasculated their men right in front of you. And we can go on and on. But all of these are conditional learning. We're around it. This is why I always tell women, we got to stop being so hard on ourselves, because it's not our fault. Even though today men will try to make you to believe it's your fault. And the only way I will agree with that is because now you have access to help. You have access to healing. But my point is, it wasn't your fault. You were a child. So we're children, and all we see is what we're around. We can't control that narrative. So how is it our fault that we grow up a certain way and we have adopted the behaviors of toxic mothers? And then if you really want to get down to the root of things, I mean, how much can you even blame a toxic mother if you had a toxic grandmother? And so on. They didn't have the tools that we have now. We have the tools to say, you know what? I'm tired of being strong for everybody, being the strong person. I'm tired of, meeting good men and the good men don't stick around. I'm tired of dealing with screw boys. I almost said something. I'm tired of dealing with screw boys, right? We say this, so then that tells us that there's another way. The other way requires intentionality, which is difficult. So now either you can remain in your default setting, meaning the person, you became, and stay that way and just be miserable and tired of being tired. Or you can decide, like, okay, I want to get healthy because I want every single thing that God has for me. But where does that start? That starts with acknowledgement, where you already acknowledge that you know that this ain't it. This ain't it right here. This ain't it right here. So you've already acknowledged that. So now you have to step in and ask God to help you. You have not because you ask not. I think people really just assume that God will just expose us to things just because we deserve it, right? Sometimes maybe he will. But there's times that you have to ask God to expose you to what you want. When he exposes it to you, it's going to be foreign. Because remember, that's not what you're used to seeing. You're used to seeing domestic violence. You're used to seeing the your mom emasculating your dad. You're used to seeing just trauma. Trauma, 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 trauma. So now when God exposed you to the new, it will seem very foreign. It will feel crazy. And what does that exposure look like? That can be an example. That can be someone on your job who has a very healthy relationship or a very healthy marriage. That can be maybe a friend that you will meet, maybe wherever he sends you. It can be church, it can be wherever, but he will give you an individual or several of people who truly have healthy, wholesome relationships and marriages. Now it's not common, right? But it exists. Happy marriages exist. Most of us just never seen one. Most of us were just never present in that particular environment to see those things. Remember, generational curses are normally about generational conditionings, whatever you call them, are normally about cycles within the family. So if your mother is toxic, your auntie is probably toxic, and if the marriage was broken there, is broken at the auntie house because it all came from the grandma. So it's all about cycles. So you may have an individual in the family who have decided to put the work in, or decided that they weren't going to follow the norm and created a different path. So you may have an example within the family, but if you don't, God will give you an example. You just have to ask him. I remember I'm laughing because I could not get it when we had this conversation. One of my girlfriends, I told you guys about it, one of my girlfriends, the one who helps me set up my conferences and things like that. Again, she's in a very, 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 very healthy marriage. She's much more mature than I am, but they've been married for a very, very long time. And, she was honest to say that it took work. Like, they had to go through hell to get where they are now. But I remember we were all together, maybe about 5 of us. We were just kind of having like a girls' day out. So we were just speaking in general about like a girl cruise, right? Like planning a girl cruise, like all girls just get together. And then she had said within the group that she doesn't do like girl away things. And we weren't planning a cruise. We were speaking in general about women cruises. And she was saying that she'd never participated in one and she would not. So we just figured she was just saying that that's just not something she's interested in. But really it boiled down to how their marriage is set up, right? That kind of time away from each other, that level of temptation that can happen if, a bunch of girls are out drinking and on cruises and just being free balls and all that stuff like that, as well as she doesn't have social media. And I remember we all were kind of just looking, and this was maybe about 4 years ago, and we all were just kind of looking at her like, huh? That seems a bit controlling, that you can't go out and have like a girls' week of a cruise. But then the more and more I thought about that thing, right? And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing for people to do that, or really what it's about is what works for you and your relationship. Meaning, sometimes you have to stay ahead of the enemy. Meaning, that things can happen when you're drinking and all that stuff. Not saying that you can't be responsible in drinking. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying sometimes you have to be ahead of Satan. So now you're on this cruise. Now you meet somebody looking up. You walk around with the shirt off, 6-pack. That's temptation. And some of you guys may have temptation on lock, right? But then some people choose not to even give Satan any entryway. And if that's what it takes, because listen, social media is a gift, but it's also a curse. It's a gift because we have found people that we may have never found. We found some of our old classmates and, we're able to reach people of, different countries. But listen, when you check that inbox, okay. I just stopped checking mine. When you check that inbox and you start reading those messages, that's an entryway, boom, entryway right there of temptation. Now, before you know it, you're looking for this particular person messages. Before you know it, now you're up 3 o'clock in the morning reading these messages. So sometimes it's really about preventing that. Again, I'm not saying that's something you have to do or I have to do. It just really is about what works for you, knowing what works for you in your relationship. Once you find that pattern of what works for you guys, screw what society says, screw what anybody says else to judge it. Because now I see exactly what she was saying. I couldn't get it 4 years ago, but now I get it. Now that I see how much temptation is really out here. So, how did I get there? But when God shows you that example, again, it's going to be so foreign to you, but you're going to have to be intentional. You're going to have to be like, okay, this looks a little too hard. This doesn't even sound right. But you have to be intentional about putting that work in. So really putting the work in is about watching what's around you. The example that he gives you, watch how they move. Ask questions. Because a lot of times people are more than willing to really, really help you. Truly. And then if God exposed them to you, then there's a good chance that that person was ordained to be in your life to begin with. So then they will be more than willing to help you. And then once you've been exposed to that and you've got enough of downloads by being exposed to that, guess what's going to happen? Guess what's going to happen, boo? You can get thrown into single season, isolation season, single season. Because think about it. Your default setting is still the same. You just got exposed to a healthy marriage, a healthy relationship. But nothing about you have changed. You're still your same self. You just saw it. So now God have to isolate you in order to get you to unlearn everything you were taught. Please buy you some edge growth because your edges will be snatched in this season. Because nothing will feel safe. Everything will feel foreign, but it's about you being intentional about moving forward to whatever God is doing for you. So once you go through your isolation season, your single season, and now you're healed, which is a very, very, very long process. Think about it. You learn that stuff, 20, 30 years, and probably more. You learn all that stuff. So you can't just expel that stuff overnight, but you will have grace and a fast forward course if you submit rather than fight against it. And you will fight against it because it's very uncomfortable. So now once you've healed, then you will be able to receive healthy love. You will be able to return healthy love that will look very, very, very different from what you experienced prior to healing. Prior to healing, you allowed the lies, even though you knew they were lies. You allowed the lies. You accepted the excuses that were, first of all, half behind excuses. Random moment here. One of the things that's a trigger for me, when someone gives me a lie that they didn't even put some intelligence into, right? It's almost like, okay, if you always tell me I'm intelligent, then if you're going to lie to me, make sure that lie is real good, right? But when you just give me some old made up quick stuff, that means you're now questioning my intelligence. And now we're going to have a problem, right? We're going to have a problem there. But the point is, even if the lie is a good lie, which that's just crazy. That's broken consciousness. Even if the lie is pretty much a good lie, the fact that we still accept that half behind or even good lie still tells us that we have work to do. Now, personally, I was the person who, okay, you're not going to play with me all kind of way, right? And it would make me cringe when I see women who just allow certain behaviors. So me, no, I want to allow it, and you're going to deal with some issues and some discipline, and I'm going to cut you off or whatever the case may be. But at the same time, after a certain period of time, then you allow that person back in. That's still toxic behavior, because now it becomes a pattern that, yes, they know they may have to go through hell if they done something crazy, but they know if they wait out a certain period of time, eventually you'll calm down. Eventually they'll bring you enough food, take you to dinner. Eventually, things kind of get back to normal and they're back in. That's a learned behavior. So the cycle continues. So all the things that you allowed in your prior relationships, cheating, domestic violence, not coming home 3 o'clock, whatever you allowed in the past, you will never, ever, ever accept when you're healed. In fact, the individual who is with you in your healed season wouldn't even try you like that. It's just a different level of a person. And so with that being said, because this person is so different, you're going to have to be intentional that you don't ever tap back into your default setting. Mind you, your default setting is your comfortable place. So it's still there. You still know what that person is. This is why intentionality is hard, because even when certain things come up, you might feel triggered about something and it's going to put you back in that default setting, but you have to be intentional about saying, I'm not going there. I'm not going there. I'm healed from that place. Let me just sit here and just tap into the spirit and just close my mouth before I say the wrong thing. Because you'll be looking at this person in the healed season. If they do or say something, your mind, boom, go back to the default setting. And it's not even the same person. It's not even the same issue. So why is it triggering you? Because it's triggering you. The behavior is triggering you. So you have to be intentional about making sure that you are staying filled in the spirit, connected to God, to know that you're now in a different place, and you will not allow Satan to ruin what you currently have because you've left that other place. This new person, you will be able to finally relax, finally submit. Use that word however you want to use it. There's too many different definitions. There's too many different opinions about it. Use it how you want to use it. The point of the matter is you will finally be able to relax because you trust this person on a whole different level. So when God sends someone to you, honor and respect, which will be the complete opposite of what you left. Sadly, a lot of times, the people in the unhealed season got more honor and respect than women are even willing to give the individuals in the healed season. If that ain't backwards, what is? However, it's still conditioning. So sis, I say all that to say you are not alone. If you were not taught it, again, ask God to show you. When he shows it to you, it will feel very foreign, but you're going to have your mind made up. Do you want what God has for you or do you not? If you don't want it, then stay unhealed. If you don't ask God to show you an example, then you may have to end up kissing 1,000 frogs to just get to the point where you're too tired being tired. But before you even get to that point where you're just tired of being tired, ask God to show you an example. Make sure you tap into your individuals in the cyber world, who can help you. You already know who I suggest, but find your own. Ask God to lead you to people who can really pour into your life. Put the work in. When the single season, isolation season get here, stop fighting against it. You will. Don't forget your edge growth. You're going to need it. And once you're healed, which is a very, very long, strenuous process, every single thing that was always for you will find you. It's your girl, Kizzy Rock.